Tonight, bombshell testimony from Gordon Sondland, the Trump donor turned diplomat, turning against the president's key line of defense in the impeachment inquiry, that there was no quid pro quo involving Ukraine. Sondland, the ambassador to the European Union, saying there was.
Was there a quid pro quo? As I testified previously, with regard to the requested White House call and the White House meeting, the answer is yes.
Sondland emphasizing that it was widely known.
Everyone was in the loop. It was no secret. Again, everyone was in the loop.
It started, Sondland says, when the president directed him, Energy Secretary Rick Perry, and former Special Envoy Kurt Volker, the so-called Three Amigos, to work with Rudy Giuliani, the president's personal attorney, on Ukraine.
Secretary Perry, Ambassador Volker, and I worked with Mr. Rudy Giuliani on Ukraine matters at the express direction of the President of the United States. We did not want to work with Mr. Giuliani. Simply put, we were playing the hand we were dealt, so we followed the President's orders.
Sondland describing the quid pro quo, that in order for Ukraine's President Zelensky to get a White House meeting, he had to publicly announce investigations Giuliani had been pushing for, including into the Ukrainian company Burisma that was employing Hunter Biden.
Mr. Giuliani demanded that Ukraine make a public statement announcing the investigations of the 2016 election DNC server and Burisma. Mr. Giuliani was expressing the desires of the President of the United States.
Sondland revealing new emails he says prove his case and implicate some of the top officials in the Trump administration, including this August message to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, updating him on efforts to nail down Ukraine's public statement.
Mike, referring to Mike Pompeo, Kurt and I negotiated a statement from Zelensky to be delivered for our review in a day or two. The contents will hopefully make the boss happy enough, the boss being the president, to authorize an invitation.
And he said other top officials were also in the loop.
And in fact, you say that other senior officials in the State Department and the Chiefs of Staff's office, including Mick Mulvaney, Secretary Pompeo, were aware of this quid pro quo, that in order to get the White House meeting, there were going to have to be these investigations the president wanted.
Correct.
But on the question of a quid pro quo for military aid that was being withheld at the time, Sondland says he presumed the aid was tied to Ukraine announcing investigations, but did not know for sure.
The military assistance was also being withheld pending Zelensky announcing these investigations, correct?
That was my presumption, my personal presumption based on the facts at the time. Nothing was moving.
Sondland testifying the Ukrainians asked him about the aid when they learned it was being withheld in late August.
You understood the Ukrainians received no credible explanation. Is that right?
I certainly couldn't give them one.
So is this kind of a 2 + 2 = 4 conclusion that you reached?
Pretty much.
Is the only logical conclusion to you that, given all of these factors, that the aid was also a part of this quid pro quo?
Yep.
Sondland was not on the July call between President Trump and Zelensky, but does recall talking to the president the next day. In that cell phone conversation, an embassy staffer said he overheard in a Ukrainian restaurant between the president and Sondland.
I'm not going to dispute what he did or didn't hear.
Well, he also testified that you confirmed to President Trump that you were in Ukraine at the time and that President Zelensky, quote, loves your ass, unquote. Do you recall saying that?
Yeah, it sounds like something I would say. That's how President Trump and I communicate, a lot of 4-letter words. In this case, 3-letter.
That staffer testifying that the president brought up the investigation.
And you responded that he's going to do them, or it, and that President Zelensky will do anything you ask him to do. Is that an accurate recitation of what happened there?
It could have been words to that effect. I don't remember my exact response.
Sondland saying in early September he asked Vice President Pence about the aid.
I was in a briefing with several people, and I just spoke up and I said, it appears that everything is stalled until this statement gets made. The vice president nodded like, you know, he He heard what I said, and that was pretty much it, as I recall.
Then on September 9th, the same day House Democrats announced their investigation into the president's dealings with Ukraine, Sondland says he spoke to the president again, asking this question about why the aid was held up.
What do you want from Ukraine? I keep hearing all these different ideas and theories and this and that. What do you want? And he just said, I want nothing. I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. Tell Zelensky to do the right thing.
But Republicans firing back, saying that call proves the president did nothing wrong.
You said to the President of the United States, what do you want from Ukraine? The President, I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo.
Highlighting that Ukraine eventually received military aid without announcing any investigations.
You got all three of them wrong. They get the call, they get the meeting, they get the money. It's not 2 + 2, it's 0 for 3. I mean, I've never seen anything like this.
And Republicans seized on Sondland's testimony that there is no direct link to President Trump.
I don't recall President Trump ever talking to me about any security assistance, ever.
No one on this planet told you that President Trump was tying aid to investigations, yes or no?
Yes.
So, you really have no testimony today that ties President Trump to a scheme to withhold aid from Ukraine in exchange for these investigations?
Other than my own presumption.
Which is nothing.
But Democrats argue the aid was released after Congress learned about the whistleblower complaint and that the president wanted something that would help him politically.
Who would benefit from an investigation of the Bidens?
I assume President Trump would benefit.
There we have it, see?
And Democrats say Sondland bolsters their case that President Trump committed an impeachable offense.
It was the conditioning of official acts or something of great value to the president, these political investigations. It goes right to the heart of the issue of bribery, as well as other potential high crimes or misdemeanors. So I think a very important moment in the history of this inquiry.
Tonight, a wave of pushback to Sondland's allegations. The vice president saying he has no recollection of the discussion that Sondland described. A State Department official saying that Sondland's accusations about Mike Pompeo are flat out false. And Rudy Giuliani, the president's personal lawyer, saying that Sondland is speculating that he never met him and that there was no quid pro quo.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.